I am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's the author of the debut book, God Only Knows When Devil Comes for You, no other than Mr. Ryan T. Reichert.
Hey, good morning, Dan. How's it going?
Fabulous, fabulous over here, Mr. Ryan. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Ryan T. Reichert from the farming community of Hoople, North Dakota, Tatertown, USA. Just about Southern Canadian. I grew up there and ended up heading to the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks. And after that, joined the U.S. Army. And so, after 23 years in the U.S. Army, retired. Family moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and started the World of Fortune 500. And last year was unfortunately laid off, economic circumstances and so forth. And went through a few highs, a few lows. Yeah, losing the Fortune 500 job was certainly a low. Went through a divorce, and I have one adult child, one still in high school, so two girls, and we kind of going through the trials and tribulations of that. But just like anything else, supporting the Minnesota Wild as we head into the last game of the regular season before we head into the Stanley Cup playoffs. So looking forward to seeing my daughter tonight because she goes to the University of Minnesota. But super excited to be with you today and be able to talk about God only knows when the devil comes for you a second chance at life.
Mr. Ryan T. Rakert, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. So let's talk about the book's origin and inspiration. What inspired you to write Godly Knows When the Devil Comes for You?
It was actually back in December. My faith had certainly been stronger the last 16 plus months. I sobered up. I suffered from alcoholism and prescription drug addiction for many years. Started drinking, unfortunately, when I was 12 years old, and that didn't end until I was 45. So a 33-year in the alcohol biz, and then obviously abusing prescription drugs as well. And the good Lord reached down into that pit of misery that I felt that I was in despair, and He pulled me out of it. And so, just December of 24 here, I started jotting things down after I'd read the Bible or devotionals or any other books that I had around. And the next thing you know, the beginning of January here of 2025, I started typing. And the next thing you know, about 30 days later, we have God Only Knows as the devil comes for you a second chance at life, and started working with Trilogy Christian Publishing. And just like you have on the screen there, on 3 June, will be able to be out in people's hands. They can pre-order it on Amazon. So it's just so exciting to have this opportunity and to be on your platform this morning. So thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Ryan, for your debut book and hoping for more and more empowering books like this to come. And how did you come up with the title? It's
Yeah.
very evocative and powerful.
So I don't know if you've heard the song God Only Knows, but I was coming back from church one night. I teach sixth grade boys at Eagle Brook, Church Ground Zero, small group leader there, and got in my truck, and the song God Only Knows comes on. And, I was kind of had a few, other titles, kicking around. But when I heard that, it was kind of, I was probably in, feeling, a little bit post, as I worked through life with, being laid off last year and so forth. And, my pride and ego probably took a hit there quite a bit. And then, I was going through the separation and divorce process. God only knows when you're gonna, go through some of these struggles in life, and that devil, I believe, is inside all of us. That wasn't the first way around of it. It was this aspect of, maybe I looked at, my old job as, hey, the bosses didn't like me or whatever. But after you ask some questions, it's like, no, during economic times, decisions have to be made, and I was one of the newer guys on the team, and so on and so forth. And it was actually a blessing when I was laid off. I believe it was divine protection, and when that happened, it's just that aspect of, for me, a higher power is God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. And, he knew when the devil would, come for me in certain ways, but whatever talents or purpose that he put inside of me, I'm doing a lot better in life today, being a servant leader throughout my community, as you work towards, like I said, working with the church, helping the homeless, looking at being a part of the Salvation Army here in the future with them as well. And it's just now not being as selfish as I was in a previous life. And so that's where the second chance at life comes in, because I was a very selfish individual, in my icks and my isms, being an alcoholic and a prescription drug addict, those two, I didn't really care how I treated others, how others, their feelings and so on and so forth. And, it's one of those aspects where, the tools that are inside, God only knows, and the devil comes through you a second chance at life, is for all of us to know that these labels that maybe we get put on ourselves, God knows when that devil's coming for you, but he knows you also have something inside of you for a second chance at life.
Mr. Ryan, it happened for a reason. And thank God it is. So let's talk about the themes and messages of the book. What central themes were you aiming to explore? God only knows.
Yeah, absolutely. So, multiple, tools inside of it, on how to live your second chance at life. And, certainly starts off with your connection with God. And, um, for those who, maybe don't believe or trust in Him, higher power can be whatever you want it to be. There's some form of the creation of the universe and so on and so forth. And, maybe it's just the doorknob that you believe in, and that allows you to stay out of your own way. And one of the areas that I really love talking about is three wins that we have. You have a physical win, you got a mental win, and you have a spiritual win, every day. And they can be as simple as, your physical win, walking, running, swimming, biking, hiking, whatever it may be, just, walking your dog. That's kind of how it started for me there. 3-year-old golden doodle named May. And, when I was in my super lows last year, um, when we separated, 25-year relationship, I didn't want to get out of bed every day. I was, feeling sorry for myself, playing the victim, in all things. And, May had to, at a minimum be taken out a few times a day, give her food and water and so on and so forth. And those steps that would create this, physical win for me, first just started walking around the apartment building that I moved in, not very, block or two. And, now over time and space, and this kind of talks through it in the book, it's like you're walking around, two neighborhoods, three neighborhoods, and you're increasing those steps, because we were never meant to just be stationary objects and, be a bump on a log kind of thing. We were meant to see the world. And so the cool thing is about that is Maze allowed me to, like, get further out in the new neighborhood, and see new things and meet new people. And then, your mental win is as easy as reading, writing, creating, whatever that may be. So that brings out your true talents inside of you. And then also that's spiritual. So, that's prayer, meditation, studying, growing, whatever that looks like. For me, I try to pair it, the physical and the spiritual together, and I do yoga these days. So I went from being a guy in the army, big CrossFitter back in the day, lifting up heavy things and throwing them around, to now just being able to be at peace with myself in a calm setting. And that's been such an amazing thing, knowing as we get older, maybe we have injuries and so forth, and it doesn't allow us to run like we used to, or maybe pick up some of those heavy objects as well. So yeah, that's a big one there. And then
Miss-
other areas to walk through is your. Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Ryan. Very well said. Beautifully articulated. The book speaks of a second chance at life. What does the second chance mean in the context of the story?
Yeah, absolutely. It's for me it was originally, the perceptions that I had of my past, kind of growing up in a small town, um, you know, labels that had happened because of our maybe failures or mistakes in life, and decisions. That second chance is changing, who we are and making a difference, kind of coming out of your shell a little bit, being able to come on a show, currently, live with you. That's certainly something that, fearfulness for myself of being able to be vulnerable and basically share my stories, just like, having a book out there. It's one of those aspects where, you're putting yourself out there and telling, you know, why you are the way you are, who you are, and so on and so forth. And so, like I said, today that second chance is just doing it better than I did the first time. Making sure that, kind of leaving no stone unturned. I nowadays, if I see someone, on the street, I have to help. I have to hear their story, and know that, they have a second chance at life. Whatever, why they're homeless, or it's kind of the way I look at it is, where you heal the sick, feed the poor, protect the weak. I mean, it's one of those aspects today. At the bottom of the book there, the Art Protector Development is, now my consultancy. So, it's this aspect of having legendary leadership consultancy to help others out. And it, can be as simple as just, taking the time to hear where someone else is coming from. And maybe you can provide them with a tool that allows them to be sparked, be inspired, whatever it may be, and create the legacy that they so would want to have as they move throughout their life, and with their children or their family members, whatever that looks like. And that's the real piece of it, where we grow. Every time you have a high, it's amazing, right? You get a promotion at work, let's go celebrate. Well, sometimes we don't know the lows that people go through, and that's where we really learn. Those are where we take the lessons. I don't remember really, I can think of times where, my highs and my emotions and so forth were great, but I don't really remember any of the lessons that you would learn in that success. I remember the lessons I learned through my failures, my mistakes, and my setbacks, those lows. And I talk about those in the second book that won't come out probably till later this summer. It's titled "The Icarus Effect: The Highs and Lows of Our Emotions. We All Have Feelings." Basically, there's a chapter inside God Only Knows When the Devil Comes for Your Second Chance at Life that talks about the highs and lows, and the whole story of Icarus being imprisoned with his father, from Greek mythology. And Didymus, his father, creates wings so his son Icarus can escape the labyrinth of prison. And he tells him, though, it's the aspect of, like, these wings are made of feathers and wax, and so do not fly too high to the sun. Therefore, it'll melt the wax and you'll perish to the sea. And, sun, never fly too low to the sea. It'll wet the feathers and you'll perish as well. And so, basically, for me, that's, kind of how I look at life today with, our emotions is, you can get so elated and so excited that you forget about, being humble, and you say things that you wouldn't normally say, in a calm setting, or, when you're in those extreme lows and you can't even move, because you're so sad and depressed, and the woe is me, and the woulda shoulda couldas, that you need to surround yourself with the right people to uplift you, and know that when you're kind of heading in that ditch, that they can help you out a little bit. And for me, that's where spirituality is really come into play. Where God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit are in my life daily. They're my best friends. So you have someone to always talk to. You have someone to uplift you, and basically light the path when times get dark.
Looking forward for the second book, Mr. Ryan. So let's talk about the writing process. How long did it take you to complete this book from concept to publication?
Yeah, so it was probably about 60 total days. And then, the publication post production process is about a 4 month endeavor. So, once Trilogy Christian Publishing accepted, the manuscript from there, yeah, I suppose it was February. And, now with a 3 June release date, right on schedule. So it's a long, slow process. But the cool thing is the lessons you learn along the way. How you're going to do it a little bit differently for the second book. And then also, a third book that is in the works, like where you get a writing coach now for the third book. And, they can help you with maybe some of the things you wanted to speed through in book one. So it's one of those aspects where ever evolving, ever learning, and certainly that aspect. I believe there's a story in all of us. So take notes, keep them by your bedside, and one day too, you can write your story, and the rest of us can read it because that what everyone goes through allows us to learn from. And so hopefully then we don't have to make the same mistakes that someone else makes. And that's the big one with God only knows, when the devil comes for your second chance at life, the tools and the lessons that are inside there. I hope those that can, get the book, get it in their hands, digest it, can apply some of those same tools on their day-to-day living, so they don't have to go through the same things. They don't have to make the same mistakes in their struggles, and basically, have to then pay the price, and those repercussions for how we act. And that doesn't mean that you don't get a second chance at life. It just means that there might be some pain that you have to go through after the decisions you make.
What challenges did you face while writing this story?
Yeah, I think the big ones were, every time, get behind the computer, I noticed some technical challenges, and I don't know if that was, evil spirits trying to, upset me or whatever it may be. But there was certainly times where you either have to pause and come back to things because your computer had a virus or whatever it may be, and there were certainly some technological aspects of things. I had to learn, some new software on, how the manuscript process is uploaded and things like that. And that was scary to me. I kind of was intimidated, or still am intimidated by the technological side of things, where, sometimes, using AI to produce, like, cover, or different ideas and things like that. And for myself, if I can't take something apart and see how it works, I'm a little fearful of it. And so going through that process, putting things out there, and then getting the feedback from people if they like it or not. That was certainly like the title. It was one of those where it's like some people are like, "Oh my goodness, it invokes fear." We can't put this on a commercial on Christian television. People be afraid. And it's the whole aspect of, we have to understand that evil does exist in this world. And from that perspective, it's like, how do we fight evil? And in this process or whatever, once life gets hard, having that second chance and knowing that, like I said, for myself, my higher power, God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, shines that light. Because if there's light, there is no darkness. But with darkness, if you don't let the light in, there's no way to be able to see. And so, those are the things I take away. And those are the things that, whoever wants to pick up, God only knows, when the devil comes for your second chance at life, can see where those tools can help them as they work through their days and move forward in life as well.
Mr. Ryan, what will be your short term and long term goals in writing?
Yeah, absolutely. Short term, is get this first one out in as many people's hands as possible to help them, in their day to day either struggles, or just preparing for what could come. And long term, looking forward to having this first series of books out, creating an online course for those who want to dive deeper into things, and bridge that gap in their learning. and then take it on the road to bring it to as many people as possible. And then, in that success, want to create a nonprofit with a friend in life. We have some ideas of basically, you know, uh, grant or financial assistance for those who want to truly make their dreams a reality and find themselves in a valley and that fear is creeping in and they're like, well, maybe one day I'll have that business, I'll start that business. I was talking to a gal the other day actually, and I was like, what's your true passion in life? And she's like, I love to cook. And I was like, so would you want to own a restaurant and provide food to the masses? And she's like, yeah, that's my dream. And I said, what's holding you back? And she's like, I need $10,000 to start my food truck service, and then from there, once I'd have enough money, hopefully to have a brick and mortar storefront restaurant. And that's where I want to see things go, to where you can truly have the Mother Teresa effect per se, where you're out doing the Lord's work and helping everyone else, because we're only strong as the person next to us. And that's where I truly see our protector development in the long term is going out and helping others as much as possible, because that's other people's stories is what truly fills my heart. It fills my bucket, keeps my cup full. And I hope this first one is that launching point, and only time will tell that we get to having that nonprofit and we can help others out. And I believe that'll happen. So, absolutely, thank you.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Ryan, and hoping for the best. What kind of reader do you think will resonate most with this book?
Yeah, I mean, I think right off the bat, it's those who are looking for that second chance at life. So anyone from, I would say, 16 to 86, somewhere in there, that is really going through the valley right now. That's the one, first off, and then for those that it's a quick read. I think it's 106 pages. It's got a number of different tools throughout it. So, for those who like to self help, and it certainly has the Christian flair on it. So it's going to be that aspect of like where you can build yourself and see new ways to create. In it, it has. How to create a vision board in there, and get to your true purpose in life, outside of whatever your 9 to 5 is, because you're passionate about something. And like I said, I did hit the 3 wins piece of it. And, for all of us, like that aspect of, just give yourself time, and you'll be so proud of yourself once you start working on those wins every day.
Definitely, totally agree with you, Mr. Ryan. But before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to one of my audiobooks, people. Audiobooks, because my book 101 review volume 1 is highly recommended. It's on Audible. Book 101 review volume 2 selected, and book 101 review volume 3 suggestions. These are the products of my first season on book 101 review, and one of my self-help books, Threads of Existence, Weaving the Tapestry of Life, and Life Stand Tall, Stand Together, Breaking the chains of bullying, and life is toujours a journey of discovery, of fulfillment, and joy. And one of my climate change book, Earth Fever, Unraveling Climate and Our Race to Restore Balance, available on Audible and one of the bestsellers. So, Mr. Ryan, what advice would you give to aspiring writers who want to tell deeply personal or spiritual stories?
Yeah, one, don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Persevere, 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 and tell it exactly how you want to tell it. It's that aspect of the more you put yourself out there, the more like we all want to read it, because that's the reality of it. Like, don't sugarcoat anything. Salt, isn't sweet. It's just the truth and the reality of things. And we all have that book inside of us. So don't be afraid, just write it, and get it out there so we can all read it because, yeah, he wants you to have that second chance at life. If you're feeling down, and yeah, have a blessed day.
Definitely, and stop procrastinating, people. If you have the passion to write, and share to the world, just like Mr. Ryan. Mr. Ryan T. Reichert. Thank you so much for sharing your debut book to the world, and we are hoping for more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your debut book? God only knows when the devil comes for you.
Thank you, Daniel. Greatly appreciate it.
So, usually, where they can buy now for the pre-sale, Mr. Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. Please go to Amazon and pre-sale, pre-order your book. God only knows the devil comes for you. A second chance at life. Thank you.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Ryan the Record because if you support him, as I said, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Ryan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
Morning, people. See you soon.